Hi, Brian.
Hey,
We
that was a
totally
fun
just
Patreon
started.
exclusive segment we just did.
We totally just started this right now. There was nothing previous at all.
No, you're not missing out on anything for $5 a month at patreon.com/ the one about Godzilla movies.
See that? Snuck
If
it
you
in there
wanna
on you. You didn't think we were gonna get in there that quick, did you?
if you
Well,
wanna
here
know
we
what I
are.
just took a drink of, you'll have to pay $5. Ha,
Yeah, and I mean, you could pay the $5 once and then cancel, but I don't know why you would, but you could.
because this
But
podcast
if
is
you
awesome.
if you really want to know what he's drinking,
And we're back. My internet just came back. Yeah.
so Patreon.com/ the one about Godzilla movies, $5 a month. You didn't think we were gonna get into it this quick, but here we are. Um, if you would also do me a favor, take a second wherever you are right now, listening to if you're listening to the show, if you're watching, pull out your podcast player, Apple Podcast, Spotify, what have you, or if you're on YouTube. Unless you're driving right now, if you could just like pull over to the side of the road,
hmm Wait for a
safely,
red light. No, maybe.
safe, safely exit traffic. Don't forget those hazard blinkers,
Mm.
and
Also,
just
use your
like,
blinkers in general. Like, you should just do
yeah,
that.
unless you drive a
PSA.
BMW, then you're exempt. Um, and leave us like find a place where you can review our show and leave a 5-star review and say why you like it, or say why you hate it. But don't leave anything but 5 stars because Brian doesn't accept anything but 5 stars.
Well, I do. It just
And
makes me feel really depressed. So,
and why would you do that?
yeah, don't make me depressed.
Just like fade in the arms of the angels here. Uh,
Title.
so yeah, this is the one about Godzilla movies. We do
Why
this
are we doing
because
this?
we do this because the I'm on a mission from God. No, we do this because I've seen all of these movies way too many times, and Brian is only, before he saw the 2014 Godzilla when it came out in theaters, and that was the only one he'd seen. And we decided to make a podcast out of that experience of him seeing all of the Godzilla movies and me revisiting some that I haven't seen in quite some time. But yeah, we just get to nerd out about them.
Yeah.
And this week we are talking about the newest Godzilla
Yeah.
movie. It is still in theaters as we record.
Yeah.
Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Godzilla 10 Kong, The New Empire. From Legendary Pictures. It's a MonsterVerse film. We're still in the American MonsterVerse at the moment.
The fifth one
And,
so far.
pardon me,
Fifth
fifth one.
movie in the MonsterVerse so far.
Yep. Yeah.
I gotta say, it was kind of weird watching this in the theater for the podcast. It's funny. I'm currently unemployed, doing a bunch of like random freelance stuff. My schedule's just been all over the place. So I was like, you know what? There's nothing to stop me from seeing a movie in the middle of the day. So I'm just gonna go do that. And I got like a mid-afternoon showing, and it was like theater was like empty. I was like, perfect. I'm kind of near the back.
Nice.
I can kind of like be on my phone and take notes without bothering anyone. Man, that theater really filled up. I'll tell you what.
Did it really?
It really did. Yeah, I think it was like, I don't know if it was walk-ins or like people like the last second decided. But anyways, there was some kids in there and like some not senior citizens, but some older folks
Some
who
olds.
were just kind of there and don't know how to turn the brightness on their phone down. So I didn't bother anyone, but I was bothered a few moments by the dude next to me. Who,
That's a bummer.
yeah, his text was like 3 times sizer than mine. Size, the giant text.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing. Anyways, someone's got to teach these people how to turn down the brightness on their phone.
Somebody's got to teach these
Blinding.
people, and it isn't going to be me.
So I actually, it's so funny. I like actually, this is such an aside, but I have a focus mode on my iPhone called AMC that I have automatically turn on when I'm at the 2 theaters that I go to, and like it automatically turns on the theater mode on my watch and everything.
Nice.
It's actually when I sat down at the theater, I actually I realized I was going to need to actually pull up my phone a couple of times while I was watching it. So I actually went in and changed like all the wallpaper to just like a black screen, so that even my lock screen wouldn't like show as anything.
Yeah.
Super incognito. Yeah, it worked out
I
pretty
have
well.
that. I have that set up for like some sleep focuses and like a nap
Yeah,
focus and stuff. Like all black wallpaper, like red or green text, real like dark color.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
I
I was
love
still able to
focus
take notes
modes.
in there. Not very detailed. It was just like I type it really fast and then I could flesh it out later. But just kind of keep track. Caleb, you
Yeah,
haven't seen my review for this movie yet, have you?
I haven't. Nope.
I
I have
think
no
that's
idea.
I think that's good. We're gonna go into this blind.
Yeah, we really are. Have you seen mine?
Um,
There's a
no, I
small
mean,
like 2 sentence little thing in Letterboxd, but that's it.
I don't know if I saw it. I mean, and I could look at it. I did see what your rating was, but
Oh yeah,
not
yeah. I've seen your
necessarily
rating, but I didn't
what
see
you
your
wrote. But
review. Yeah, yeah. Well,
so
before we jump in, I'm gonna do the classic TLDR and how did it do?
yeah,
Um,
I mean, it is
TLDR,
still in theaters currently. So box office wise, that might still shift a bit, but performing admirably so far.
yeah, performing really great. It's the second largest grossing worldwide of the MonsterVerse films, second only to the first Godzilla film, which did 529 million. So far, it's done 521 million worldwide. So that's pretty cool. Uh, TLDR: Two ancient titans, Godzilla and Kong, clash in an epic battle as humans unravel their intertwined origins and connection to Skull Island's mysteries. So yeah, like I said,
Jordan Sweet.
domestically, it's done 181 million. Internationally, it's done 339 million for a combined 521. It's got a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes by the critics, but a 91% audience score. And
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, pretty interesting. Some main characters for you: Godzilla, Kong, as our titular characters here. Uh, I've got Scar King, our the Titan that we're gonna fight against in this movie. Bitch ass little Kong and Mothra are our monsters for this movie. I did
Does he have
not
a
like that
name?
little dude. No, I don't know. I honestly don't know if he does or not. I did not like that little dude. Um,
Does it actually?
Returning characters: Dr. Eileen Andrews, she's the lead on Kong at Monarch, and her daughter Gia, the deaf Iwi tribes person. She's the sole remaining member of the Iwi tribe from Skull Island. This dude named Trapper, who is like this Ace Ventura looking Dr. Doolittle for Titans. He puts a new tooth in Kong's mouth, and that's a pretty sweet scene. Bernie Hayes is back from the last movie. He's our conspiracy theorist podcast guy. Mikhail, the snarky pilot dude from Monarch, who gets eaten by a tree. And then the Iwi Queen, I just want to call her out. Her name is Fala Chen. She's a Chinese actress. She's like huge in Hong Kong. But
Hmm.
she was also recently in Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie. Did I say that right? Is
I
that a
think
resident?
Shang-Chi, but yeah,
Shang-Chi? I haven't even seen it, so.
that one was
Yeah.
pretty decent.
Yeah. Cool. So that's our characters. That's the main crew. The Navy's kind of back, I guess, in this one a little bit. This one kind of felt. I will say this right off. This is the first thing I want to say because I'll forget it, and then I will let you go. I
Hmm.
like the way this movie felt because it didn't like it just was a hey, we're going on this adventure, we're gonna go get it done kind of thing. There wasn't a whole bunch of like the military and like the like diplomacy back and forth. It was just kind of like
Hmm.
and I guess it is because it's like the Titans are a thing now, right? But they, yeah, for whatever reason, it kind of felt a little like, it felt a little Scooby Doo, like, hey, here we go, just like on another adventure. And I liked that a lot. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, lay it
Cool.
on me. Lay it on me,
Yeah.
Dr. Spar.
Yeah, I wish I had the opportunity to kind of revisit a bit or refresh my memory on some things, but I can't because I saw it in the theater. No pausing in the theater. Got to empty your bladder beforehand, you know.
There are some drawings that I cannot like that they like shuffle through on some papers that I cannot wait to hit pause on because it was
Mm,
like some history stuff of like first encounters and blah blah blah, like whatever.
okay, cool. Um, where do we start? I feel like I just want to address our feelings on this movie are it seem to differ a bit. So I saw your rating was very high. Mine is not very high. I didn't actually love this movie. I have a lot of thoughts about it. Some strong feelings, which I think is probably a good thing because it means that I'm starting to care about the Godzilla franchise or MonsterVerse, either, right?
Yeah, whatever.
So
Yeah,
that's good. Like I think it could have been a lot better. I have some criticisms for sure. There were some really cool things though that I want to talk about. I yeah, I guess just as like a starting caveat, I'm guessing this is a movie that might grow on me a little bit on a second watch. That's just like a gut feeling. I also feel like I'm willing to bet a lot of your appreciation of it has to do with like some lore and things that like I don't have the history on.
sure.
So I'm just like I'm recognizing that bias that I like haven't seen all the stuff, the old stuff. So, but um, man, this one has a different feel. It did. You referenced Guardians of the Galaxy, and you've talked about it before. I didn't like feel that it totally encompassed like the thematic sense of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was a lighter film. It was less serious, definitely colorful in places. There were a few moments, not a ton, but like the very opening sequence of the movie starts with like um, just like a pop track, just like something that we haven't seen probably in a Godzilla movie to date. I don't know, maybe not as
Yeah,
much.
it's a
It
that's
was
it's a
it did
Kong
feel
thing.
like the start of a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, just right in with like a song and then like a location title on the screen, kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Felt kind
I
of
don't know
like a
if you've noticed this, but now all three movies with Kong have started with it's like a day in the life of Kong, and it starts with music, like some kind of
yeah
song from the I don't know, like in Skull Island, it's a very era appropriate, but like in Godzilla versus Kong, there it's the same deal. There's a song, and then yeah, this one too. So
yeah. I think one thing this movie did a really good job of is sort of showcasing almost like a lot of things through Kong's eyes. Like we spent a lot of time with him. He's presented as an almost human character. We get to kind of like see how he's experiencing his world and things he's going through, or things he's curious about. I think this movie did a really good job of that. It was kind of a cool journey. I saw that referenced a lot in letterbox reviews of this film. It's also interesting, like the reviews on this movie on Letterbox are like polar opposites. It's really funny. They're like really high, really low. So I think that's really interesting. Um, it was presented a little cartoonishly. I'm here on like my bullet points here for my some things that I liked. There was quite a few like monsters ripped apart or exploded and just like guts everywhere, just like over
yeah,
the
dude,
top.
the where he's got those like Kong has those like dog things chasing him at
Hmm.
the very beginning, and he crushes all of them, and then they come through again, and he
Yeah,
takes the one and just like over the top of his head,
yeah.
and guts rain down on top of him. That
He
happened the
like had all
first
these
time, and I
booby
just went,
traps set up.
oh,
He
like
like was like green from
yes,
yeah, and like if they showed it as red, it would probably get like a different rating. But like the fact that they made the guts of these things like different colors, like almost
yeah,
Technicolor, they like
yeah,
just made it a little more goofy. Yeah, that was gnarly. I did write down humor. There's definitely some humor in this film, more than previous films. They're definitely thematically making it a bit lighter of a film. I think adding some humor is way they went around that. Bernie was a source of humor for sure, or continued to be, we should say. He was in a lot of this film, so he was able to like. Speaking of that, a bit. Dan Stevens' character, what's his name, Trapper.
Yep.
He's kind of a wisecracker as well, so he had some lines.
Well, and their character interaction too was really cool. Like the whole like after the dude gets eaten by the tree, and they're like, he's like, "Do you want a hug?" And then, like that whole little moment. Come on, we'll mourn later. And then like later on, like, freaking Bernie is like clutching onto him, like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So that was good, I guess. I did like that Scottish guy who got eaten by the tree.
Mikhail, yeah.
I like need to go look up his IMDb history. I really liked him in the Star Wars show Andor.
That's where I know him
Yeah.
from. Okay,
Shameless plug.
okay,
I don't care if you like Star Wars or not. You should just go watch Andor. It's incredible,
yeah.
and you don't need
Oh,
to know
he's
anything about
also
Star
in.
Wars to enjoy it.
He's
It
in.
doesn't have lightsabers or Jedi.
He's also in Batman, and I forgot about that.
Oh, really?
He's pretty good in Batman. In the Batman with
Who's he in the
freaking
Batman?
what's his
I've seen
face?
that movie several
Edward.
times. Is he one of the cops?
He
There's like a
is
lot of detectives.
Commissioner Pete
Oh
Savage.
yes, he does do the commissioner thing. Got it. Totally.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's Scottish in that movie. I'm guessing,
No.
which is maybe why it didn't stand out to me. I'll have to look that up now. Cool.
Side note, that is my favorite Batman movie.
Oh, it's.
Actually, I take it back. It's not my.
The Dark
it's my
Knight,
second favorite. It's my
Dark
exactly.
Knight
I
is
was just like Dark
crazy.
Knight. Yeah, it's my
I
second
don't know how
favorite
you
Batman
top the
movie.
Dark Knight. Yeah, second
Colin
favorite for
Farrell,
sure.
dude.
I agree.
Goodness.
Looking forward to that Penguin series.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Godzilla.
We get off topic a lot, Ping pong. Oh my gosh.
We'll cut that out. Cut that. No, we won't.
Spaghetti.
Yes, we will. No, we won't.
Spaghetti brain.
Anyways. Mikhail, you liked him.
Yep. I like that Godzilla is a good guy in this film. Semi-protagonist kind of a vibe. He's being presented as like, he's gearing up for some ass whooping kind of a thing. He's not in the movie a whole lot. They kind of have him like preparing. Like you have them sort of setting up for, he's going to kind of come in at the end. He's kind of just in it. He's got some cool preparatory stuff. But that's cool. We do have Godzilla curling up like a cat sleeping in the Coliseum. That was
yeah, dude.
That was. I was like, oh, okay, that's cute. There's also a moment where he like stomps a building, and there's just on his way to somewhere, as he is in this film, and there's this Godzilla graffiti on the wall, and he like just crushes it. It's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
We have come a long way from, I guess, the fear and dread of Godzilla walking around. Now it's just kind of like, he's just kind of walking by, and it doesn't feel as serious.
Yeah.
I
saw some comments
like
somewhere
that,
about like, well, yeah, never, yeah, just totally don't need, who cares about all the millions of just dead people in Rio now? Like, or just, oh yeah, who cares about all the like, just, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah. Okay, I liked the spaceship dentist. That's how I titled Trapper. That's what my bullet point says. I just said spaceship dentist. That's what I wrote down. I'm in the theater, mind you. I'm like taking quick notes. Yeah. I'm like spaceship dentist. The spaceship was cool. I was like, that's fun. He gets to rip a tooth out of a giant. I mean, Kong was so big in this film. Like just the scale is crazy. Like even rewinding back to Kong Skull Island, like he wasn't that big in that movie, and all of a sudden he's just like so big. We talked about that on the last episode. They sort of had to account for him getting bigger. They sort of said that he got older and therefore got bigger. So,
yeah.
There were some moments of like 80s synthwave tracks in this movie. They kind of like tried to 80s neon it up. I wrote that down as a thing I liked. I liked it the first time it happened. So I was like, oh, like this is going to be a vibe. And then they like sort of did it one or two more times. at random times, and I didn't like it as much because it just sort of felt like shoehorned in. I was kind of torn on that. Um, if they just like made the whole movie like synth waves, but it just fell out of place to me. We do have
Almost like they tried to write some stuff that fit in with the kind of classic rock other songs that they had chosen, or like you said, they tried to create a vibe, but they just went
yeah.
just jumped the shark on it a little too much.
I'm just gonna say this now. It might be better categorized under something that a criticism that I have, but I feel like the director of this film was was trying to do an
Same dude from the last
homage.
one.
Yeah, same dude, but very different movie. I feel like he was trying to do an homage to too many things. Like it was kind of pulled in a lot of different directions, and so it wasn't as cohesive. I'm talking about like theming, so like that could be
Yeah.
music or like the look of things, or
Yeah.
it's like it couldn't quite figure out what it wanted to be. Like just pick one, man. Just pick one.
I'm just glad we didn't have another like neon Hong Kong battle.
Mm, yeah, it was definitely very different looking in this movie. Very, very, very different than the last film, and I really liked the last film. Okay, we have. I didn't put this in the things I liked, but it was cool. Godzilla went and like ate an entire like reactor and started charging up like the pink stuff in him, and then he like went on this mission to like an iceberg to find what's the like the snake like
Yeah, it
Tiamat
was
Tiamat Tiamat,
Tiamat. Yep. Yep.
and he went and just like destroyed Tiamat. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Presumably to
love
go
the
like
whole
eat
like
all of
they show
Tiamat's
Tiamat wrap
energy
him up, and then
source.
it's just like we're on the surface, and then it's just jing, 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 and then pieces float up to. I loved that, dude. That was so
Yeah,
cool.
that was cool. So yeah,
I
he went
love
to
when
go like
Godzilla is just like, I don't have time for this. I just don't. Like, I'm not even gonna waste it. We're just get out of my way. Anyways, continue.
didn't struggle. Forgot to struggle. He went to
Yeah.
go eat all of Tiamat's energy stores because it seemed like he was gonna need it for later. They sort of commented on that throughout those early stages of the film, saying, "Oh, we think he's like gearing up for something. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
need all this energy or something." So that was cool, I guess. They go down to what are they calling it? Middle Earth, Center Earth,
Hollow Earth.
Journey to the Center of the mm, mm, Hollow Earth. Um, and they have like a whole system now by which they can like open the portal thing and then head down.
Yeah,
And they got
I think it's really cool that there's like tech around that now, and
yeah,
they've
there's like a system in
established
this movie for
it.
how
Like,
they go down there. Like they have some bases down there. So in this movie, they like get the crust kicked off, and then kind of Kong jumps in, and they like follow in like their ship. Um, and they did like this really trippy entry sequence that I enjoyed greatly, where they were just like tripping balls going through like these weird light patterns. It was definitely an homage to the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene
oh yeah, for
Wilder
sure. Yeah.
and like the crazy boat ride and through the darkness, and like there's all these
There
weird
is
visualizations.
no signs that they are slowing.
But the danger is surely growing. He's like turning into like evil Dr. Seuss. That's the best moment of that film, I think.
Well, yeah, I even as a young kid, the first time I saw that, I remember being struck at how just like that comes out of nowhere, and then we're right back to happy fun time again. There's just like
Yeah.
boom, we don't address it, and then back to like
And it's funny you say that because that's kind of how it was used in this movie. Like,
yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was a funny moment, but it fell out of place at the same time. Like they didn't have any other moments like that. It was just kind of
Well,
like it was just like, I got an idea. Let's just throw that in there, you know?
see, I kind of saw it as like a expansion on like the idea of how crazy it is to get there, and like it just like even visually the way it looked like when they showed the ship moving through and there's like the light beams around it, that looked better in this movie than it did the first movie. So it just is kind of like, I feel like that's one of those like creative things that like it's almost impossible to not have it look different or be taken differently, even if it's by the same team of people. They're just like, oh, we could do this better this time. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's that's kind of just like the art side of me thinking a little bit, like as someone who like, especially because I do get to do things for work that it's kind of like, oh, this is very, very similar to the last time we did this, but this time I'm going to do this way and it's going to be better. Like that kind of thinking, I can kind of see that happening in this film a few times creatively.
Okay.
Or that could just be a load of crap. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, your opinion's a load of crap, man.
Title.
Oh, that's a good one. It's funny now that this is such a tangent. Now that I'm like thinking about, now that I'm like, so okay, side tangent. I like put up reels of this podcast on Instagram as a way of like saying, hey, like the next episode's out, and we of course like choose a title to like title the episode. And now that I'm like thinking about things from like not necessarily a marketing standpoint, but like what the title's going to be, I find myself thinking about that as we're recording as well. And I'm like, oh man, I can just think of like how that would look as a title on the internet. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a banger right there. That's funny. What were we saying? I forgot.
You were talking about the flight into Hollow Earth and how it was trippy, acid Willy Wonka, and how it was kind of unique. That was a unique moment in the film that didn't really like, felt kind of out of place, just like it did in Willy Wonka, because it was
Oh,
just so out of place for the film, like in the film, I guess.
I remember
But there
now.
was
You
just
were
no other
just,
moment like it, you know?
yeah, you were just like uh, sharing some of your thoughts, and it's just like your opinion's a load of crap, man. Like that comment. It's just sort of hammers down on like the how people like experience a film is so subjective, right? Like you
Yeah.
loved so many things about it, and I have so many criticisms, and I love that there's this dichotomy, you know,
Yep,
in this
absolutely.
particular case. It happens. Okay, so we get down there. Kong's going on this whole journey. He's wandering around exploring, or rather, he's been there for a while, right?
Yeah,
He
so
has like a
Kong
sort of
has
a
been
area.
back in Hollow Earth since the end of the battle in the last movie, since they defeated Mechagodzilla.
That's right. So he's
Because
sort of got like some hangout zones down there.
right, and so the point was that like he couldn't just be on Monster or on Skull Island because Godzilla would come get him, but he needed a bigger containment facility. And then he's in Hollow Earth. And as long as he's in Hollow Earth, Godzilla doesn't care. It's like, okay, yeah, that's yours. Up here's
Yeah,
mine.
each other zone.
Yep.
Totally, totally. It's like a multi-zone HVAC system. Not really. That was a random thought.
If you like Frank Sinatra, you'll love Insane Clown Posse. I feel like this is the
Title.
second time I've made that joke on this show.
Uh, anyways, I cut to you down there, Hollowworth. Kong's doing some exploring. There's like this entry point sort of opens up, and he goes further in, and they call it. I hate it. Like, what was the stupid
It was
title?
Hollow Earth Unexplored Zone.
Unexplored realm or something. Like, really,
Yeah.
that's the best you could come up with. Like, give it a freaking name or something, man. Like, that's just
Yeah,
lazy.
it's like they tried to make it seem like pseudo monarch classified ish like
It just
government
felt lazy
term,
to me.
right? And it
I was
was
like,
not
really?
it was not
Unknown
good at all.
realm? You
It was
used the
literally just like,
placeholder you
oh
wrote in the script? That
we
was a
need a title for
placeholder.
this.
For sure, that was a
Like
placeholder title.
crap.
You're not supposed to actually use that. That's placeholder. So he's exploring, and then he runs into some apes, and he runs into this baby ape, You said you didn't know the name. The little sort of reddish orangutanish looking Kong guy. He is named Suko, apparently. So he meets this little guy.
More like stupid.
Yeah, I didn't like Suko either. I'm gonna insert the trivia. This trivia item I'm looking at now. Suko, believe it or not, was 45 feet taller than Kong was in Kong Skull Island. That's how big King Kong is. Because this guy looked
Wow.
tiny, tiny in the
Yeah.
film. That really contextualizes how much
I
they
love
scaled
that.
up.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, anyways, he uses Suko as a weapon and swings him and he just beats the crap out of him with
I
this little
love
guy.
that.
He just literally grabs him and starts whipping him with the
Totally
little
an Incredible Hulk moment. Like, I had
it was so
flashbacks to Hulk
savage.
and Loki. Just like,
There was like a couple 7-year-olds in the theater, and I was just like laughing to myself, like, am I supposed to be laughing? Am I ruining some little
because
kid's experience of this movie?
this is kind of the equivalent of me doing this to you. Like, or me
Right.
using my 1-year-old as a freaking weapon.
I
Like,
know. It was definitely a darker moment, I guess. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, that was cool. I also have. I don't remember how I
Kong
got
don't
there.
care.
At some
Kong
point,
don't care.
you don't care. At some point, Godzilla climbs up on a pyramid or a cliff or something, and he's like, up there, and then he freaking swan dives into the ocean. Um, I I guess I liked it.
Ah.
It was like cool. It also like it was like a weird thing to see a Godzilla shaped monster aim his body in that way. It
Yeah.
looked a little weird,
Well, out of the water, right? Because
cartoonish
that's kind
perhaps.
of like what he's doing in the water. But like, yeah, I kind
Yeah,
of had this thought just come across my head of like, I wonder if that was supposed to be some kind of like, let's show that he's like really amped up right now and is able to just do more than he normally could, like
yeah. But he could have just
leap
walked
tall
down to the
buildings in a
water, but
single bound. Like,
yeah. I also have the Mothra Temple. So they run into this temple down there that is an actual like temple to Mothra, which I'm imagining is a big lore item that I don't know much about, but I did
yeah,
remember reading that they're like canonically there's a lot of like ritualistic sort of like cult peoples that had temples to Mothra, and it's sort of like a deity thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know if it's been done before in universe or not, but the fact that they connected the Iwi to Kong and Mothra, like kind of that the Iwi are the like have always been the human interaction with Titans or the ancient human interaction with Titans, and it was more because from my recollection in older films, it was like those like the two little twins or whatever that were like Mothra's spokesperson were just for Mothra, like not
hmm.
you know not a tribe of people that were in communication with Titans in general.
Cool. Yeah, I figured you would know more about that. I just like made a note of that.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll see more about that back in the older films. Maybe the Heisei era or
yeah,
earlier.
yep,
Um, yeah, that was cool. I wrote down Godzilla napping in the Coliseum like a cat, which was the second time that we saw it, which is why I wrote it down there. Though technically he did it earlier in the film, which is why I mentioned it
yeah,
twice.
yeah.
He like got all charged up and he's like, all right, well, let me know when there's something to fight. I guess takes a freaking nap.
Well, that was the end of the movie then, right?
Yeah, it might have been
It
the
was at the it was at yeah, it was at the end of the movie.
okay. If you say so.
I've seen it twice.
Mm, could tell.
And that was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. What did you like?
So much, dude.
Yeah,
Oh
dude.
man.
It's your turn. Go for
So
it.
here's my little review that I wrote in Letterboxd.
Okay.
Legendary has finally figured out what this MonsterVerse is, what this kind of like era or timeline of Godzilla is. It is the Yo to Toho's In. So you're familiar with like yin and yang, right? In Japan, it's in Yo. So Toho's In is Godzilla minus one. Shin Godzilla. Godzilla doesn't emote. He is a godlike figure that is terrifying and a force of nature, and is like those like Toho's. That's kind of been their thing and is their thing right now, of the more serious, somber, slightly like horrific, unstoppable force of nature, and this representation of the terrible things with the terrible things within human nature, I guess. And the Yo to that, the Yo is this MonsterVerse, this like silly, fun, action packed, whole bunch of lore, like Godzilla universe. Like there's lore in here that is pulling from every era. It's literally pulling from 70 years of Godzilla films. And so like it's just this like roller coaster that I feel they kind of started to like take us on, like up the roller coaster in King of the Monsters. We saw Ghidorah, Rodan, like got all these cool monsters, the weird like Ghidorah's head growing back all crazy like it did in King of the Monsters. Yeah, I don't know. I like the I just like the silliness as a balance to the seriousness and the somberness of Toho. And if you look back at the history, which I know you don't really have this perspective, and maybe that's kind of like what is making, like you said, this is probably what's making this movie so fun for me, is that like Heisei area, or like Heisei era and Showa era, there was this, but it kind of like ebbed and flowed, in that there were somber tone movies, and then there were eras of really goofy, like you've seen that gif that I sent of Godzilla dancing, like that's I just want a battle, and he literally does this like jump, like put a leg and an arm off to the side, like, and he has this little like yelp thing, like there's a scene where he like just like rocks back on his tail and shoots forward and like kicks somebody in the chest with both of his feet, like just total silliness, just complete like what is even going on, right? And so like that's nothing new to Godzilla. So I am like, I can see where like a lot of the stuff that you like didn't like about the film is, I guess, yeah, you just don't like, is because you don't have the lore or the history, or the just don't know that there is that kind of stuff exists in the past, I guess, like the silliness or the random, you know. So in general, yeah, that's just what I like. I feel like they finally figured out the MonsterVerse. I really appreciate that at first I thought that, I don't know, like it's almost kind of like they preferred the way that Kong Skull Island and then Godzilla vs Kong looked and felt, in terms of like the way they label things, and like that kind of like just kind of brought a feel to the universe. But I kind of almost feel like you mentioned, the Godzilla's not in this film very much, and I'm looking at the poster of the film right now, and like the title of this easily could have been Kong X Godzilla, pardon me. Like Kong's name could have been first. It is a Kong movie more than it is a Godzilla movie. However,
Yeah.
you got to put Godzilla's name first. You have to. Like if he's in the movie, his name's got to go first. That's just part and parcel of a 70-year-old franchise, I think. But this, in my mind, is more a Kong film than it is a Godzilla film.
It is objectively, yeah.
Yeah. I really did love so much about this. I loved the like like Godzilla just out of nowhere, like what is he attacking? And then like, oh gosh, it's a they figure out it's that nuclear reactor in France that he goes after first, right? And then he goes after another one, and then he goes after what's the kaiju? I can't remember.
Tiamat.
Tiamat. Yeah. Um, and I love after like the second reactor as he's like walking into the sea, they're like, we can't get close to him at all. I think he's in Rio as he's going back into the ocean in Rio, and he's just like he's burning hot with radiation, and you see the sea boiling him around him as he's walking back into the ocean. Like, so cool.
I did notice the
Um,
boiling. That was a nice
yeah.
touch.
And the just the evolution of like after Tiamat and he absorbs all of that radiation, the space radiation, um, he comes up and has like gills and his spikes are bigger and this like I don't know if you noticed it, but they cut to Monarch and they're doing like analysis on him and they pop up some like data points on the screen around him. And it's like the gills and his spikes are bigger for enhanced cooling and like, so they like threw in some evolution, which is an idea that we'll see a lot in Shin Godzilla. They like this kind of like instant evolution or a like in the moment he is physically changing as a result of the radiation he's taking on, and it's not taking years to happen. So I liked that. I don't know. I just liked the bigger, beefier design a little bit. Let's see what else. Silly moments. I thought it was kind of cool. Slash, I don't know. I got a laugh out of it when like Kong comes up to he comes up to the surface in Egypt, and he calls for Godzilla, and then Godzilla does the like swan dive, right? And he comes up on land again and comes running towards Kong. And Kong does this like, hey, whoa, 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 like, and like Godzilla punches him once, and he's like still like, no, 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 like I don't want to fight, and got like he just doesn't care. And then you see Kong just this. I thought that was great, just that like, hey, whoa, 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 like you mentioned, they kind of like made Kong feel a little more human, and that was another one of those, just kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I liked the whole like Kong just like I don't have time for this, and like hits Godzilla real hard a couple of times just to like knock him unconscious for a second, and is just dragging him by the tail to the to the portal. And is about to have his life ended by Godzilla, and then Mothra is like, "Hey, yo, like, hold up, he's like,
Yeah.
we're together on this one." Like, I love that. I don't know why Gia had to come with. Why did she have to like whatever? I don't know. Did you notice that? How like because she had climbed the huge temple, she
She just
summons
kind of
Mothra.
appeared.
Yeah, and then she went with Mothra to Godzilla and Kong for some reason in Egypt, like, and was standing on top of the
Just kind of
whatever that was.
happened. There wasn't much of a
Just
reason for it.
'cause, I guess.
Yeah.
It was in her
Mm-hmm.
contract. She really wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Nice.
I Scar King is difficult for me. If he didn't have Shimu, he wouldn't have anything, I don't think. Like, he's strong, but Kong is stronger. Godzilla is easily stronger. It's literally just that he had
Definitely not a
Shimu, I
very
think.
intimidating character.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I see the point of like they needed to, or they wanted to give Kong family, and they had to, have some kind of like struggle for power there or whatever. I just thought he could have been a more intimidating kaiju, and it could have been
I don't think he was intimidating at all. Like they went more in the
no,
direction of like this is sort of like a small man character who relies on other means to enforce
yeah,
his,
yeah, his
dictatorship,
power, yeah.
which
That's good.
is like
That's a
a
good.
like it's a fine story to tell. It just is it believable versus King Kong? Like I don't know.
Right. Like yeah, it's a good story, but does it work in
I
Titan
I don't think it
format,
worked,
right?
but
Yeah, I don't think so either. I agree.
it definitely reinforced like sort of like the confidence and like what of like his whole attitude walking into that realm, King Kong's attitude, which I don't know, maybe that was the purpose, but
Yeah.
what you got, bring it kind
Um.
of a thing.
Yeah. And Shimu, to bring her up, like ice, like female ice version of Godzilla. Not like I don't know if that kaiju existed before now. I've certainly never seen it in a movie. I think it's a new one.
Yeah, I believe they invented it, and they also sort of called her the original, sort of implying it is like the first kaiju, which
Yeah.
is an interesting thing to introduce into the lore. But
Yeah, especially because like Godzilla's been considered the original kaiju for so long. Whatever. And there was that comment about like her ice blast, like or her frost blast caused the last ice age or whatever. Like
yeah, they did say that kind of offhand.
I don't know. I think it's a cool character. I would have rather it just been Shimu was the one that they had to fight and defeat and make it even more powerful and make it
Oh
a
yeah,
like
like an
if you're gonna
like
call
an
it the
anti
original Titan,
King Kong, like an antithesis character would have been pretty sick.
yeah, or an anti Zilla, right? Like anti Godzilla, and it's Kong has to defeat this thing to get his people back or whatever. Like it's been holding them prisoner in this undiscovered part of Hollow Earth, and just literally replace Scar King with Shimu, and
Hmm.
but then you're back to another movie where it's the two against one. I don't know. The That's kind of, I mean, I don't know. There's just so much to like in this movie, and I feel like I need more times to be able to remember all of it. I thought Trapper was a cool character. I thought his entrance, like hanging off the plane or the like whatever that ship was, the like claw ship, in the '80s music. That's kind of what made me think of Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit. It felt a little
Hmm.
like here's this space cowboy guy. Um, the I thought the whole like the Iwi are like they control gravity was a cool idea, and where they slam the two pyramids together and it causes like gravity to stop for a second and everybody's floating or for however long that was. I thought that fight scene was really really cool. I did not like the whole, and this is really what solidified like I didn't like Scar King, and like it also kind of started the whole like this could have been a Kong movie and not a Godzilla movie. Was like that happens, they're running towards each other and have jumped into the air, right? Do you remember this? And there's that like, and then the pyramids connect, gravity
Yeah.
goes away and they're all floating, and it's like Kong uses Godzilla for a second, like runs up and like grabs onto his spikes and like throws himself into the air. So it's like Kong and Scar King and Shimu and Godzilla just kind of like all flying towards each other. And I was just like, like cool. So we've got Monkey and Monkey and Godzilla and Anti-Godzilla. Like,
We get it. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. My brother made a comment when the first trailer came out that he didn't know how we felt about them making it like Godzilla and Kong are in a buddy cop movie. Uh, and it was hard to not feel like that sometimes, especially when they're like running together in Hollow Earth after
Yeah,
they
they
come through
cheesed hard
the
on that.
like.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. I guess from here I kind of trend into things that are like just kind of and I don't know if I really had anything that I just like didn't like, but it's just kind of like meh. Uh,
Hmm.
the robotic arm for Kong after he gets frostbite from Shimu,
Pretty
that's pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, and
A little
I
underutilized,
liked,
but
yeah, I liked that idea as a way to like, oh, he's injured and we can get him back into the fight, and it's not just some, we gave him a bunch of drugs or whatever. Um, yeah, there's a comment on Letterboxd. I hope they give Kong a gun in the next one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's to kind of wrap up my whole feelings on the film in perspective of everything. It takes me back to my review. This is the Yo to Toho's in. It's the I don't know. It's the funny and the goofy and it's the comic book to Toho's like history book, if you will, almost. It's almost kind of the way that they're telling stories. It's like the Toho stuff is not fantastical. It is, I mean, it's fantastical in like God's in who Godzilla is, but just like the tone of it, right?
Grounded.
And yeah, very grounded. And these movies are, like you said, had that like comic feel. And I think that's why I gave it a 9 out of 10 because it feels like a good balance to the whole universe. So,
Hmm. It's funny. The more MonsterVerse movies I watch, the more I like 2014 Godzilla more.
well, and that one is
Yeah.
more grounded, more this is just terrifying. Nobody knows what's going on. Like
No, I think it was executed really well. Yeah.
it was, yeah, it was executed really well.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. That's what I thought. I figured there was some lore stuff too. Um.
Yeah. Oh, dude, so much lore. The Mothra theme is back again.
Okay.
Da, 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 da.
Hmm.
Yeah, the this like quick birth of Mothra is not new to the series. We saw in the last film or King of the Monsters where she had like a larva stage
Hmm.
and then there was a cocoon again and then Mothra. That's been a thing. Um yeah, I don't know. They just kind of interchange that as they need to. It's kind of funny. They just like, how do we need Mothra in this movie? Does Mothra need to be a plot point where we're waiting for her to show up, or can she just be a surprise? You know. Um, I thought that temple scene was really cool. The whole like Gia pushing the stone thing and it starts the water flowing, and that's where they follow it down and find the whole like separation into their like into the Iwi's hidden area. I thought when they got to it first, it looked to me like that was they had found a Mothra, like a Mothra egg. I thought that's what they had come up against. It kind of looked like that to me. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's that.
Okay. Is it time?
So eviscerate the film, sir.
Oh boy. I just wrote down a lot of things. Read so many thoughts. So I want to actually come back to one of your early comments and like why you thought maybe I didn't like it. Um, I have no criticisms of making a comedic MonsterVerse film or a Godzilla film or one that's like lighter. I think I'd have a better idea of like what that could look like or what that might be like if I'd seen some of the '70s stuff, which I haven't yet. We'll get there. My criticism was more lack of cohesion. So if we're referencing Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a lot of magic that comes together that like works cohesively to make that movie an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, and well received by critics as well. And I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but it's like it's consistent. It knows what it is. It knows what it's trying to be. You know, it's you know, it's self aware. It's not trying to like be a bunch of different things. Maybe it's like doing an homage to something else, but I guess Guardians was pretty original, honestly, which is probably why people connected with it so much. But I think this movie is trying to be too many things. I just I think that's like the biggest problem with it. And I have like lots of little nitpicky things that I felt were like lazy or mistakes or not enough put into it. But ultimately, like overall, the reason that I didn't walk away loving it, I was like, I feel like I don't know what they wanted it to be. You know what I mean? So this movie, I think, was trying to be a Godzilla film, a King Kong film, Lethal Weapon, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Planet of the Apes, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are all so different.
Yeah.
You can't pull a piece from all of those and it
Yeah.
work. It just, I don't think it worked.
Well, not in
So
a 115-minute movie. You can't. Like, it's so short.
I don't know if length would have made it better, but
Yeah, you're right. That's
adding
what she said.
runtime doesn't solve problems that are in the script. Yeah, so like I couldn't tell you like what to do differently there. Ultimately, I walked away going like they wanted to make like a lighthearted comedic Godzilla film, and I love like the intention, but I don't think it succeeded. You know, if I'd seen those 70 films, I would have an idea of like, oh, this is what a comedic Godzilla movie can look like. I don't think this is a good example of what that could be. I don't think they've arrived at that yet. Maybe in the next one, but I don't know. I was honestly just like so surprised because I felt Godzilla versus Kong was like such a cohesive and consistent film. And this was just like so different. I'm like, how is this from the same director? Maybe like the writers are different, but
Yeah.
I just didn't expect it to be like this. So
I'm looking
um,
at the director's credits right now. Like, he's directed 34 films.
definitely
And
has a lot of low rated films. So it's interesting.
yeah, and I wonder if it's like he's not a good fit for the people that wrote the story.
Could be. I
You
don't know.
know, like, because the stuff that he's directed is not even anywhere in the realm of like this genre.
Yeah, and I mean to be completely fair to the movie making process, there isn't like a list of ingredients that results in a successful and amazing film. There just
Yeah,
isn't. It is a little bit of like luck and magic that things come together and it results in something that people love. Something that is like objectively great, whether in the writing or stylistically or style, whatever. And then also like something that is also like financially successful and popular and get connects with the pop culture. All those there's like so many things that come together for like a film that really like the fireworks go off, and it is like a lot of luck. Just like you happen to get the right actors at the right time, or like there's like a shtick that was really working. If it's like a comedy, like people were connecting with it. So sometimes you win some, you lose some, and that's just like what Hollywood is. But anyways, my nitpicky things because I'm a detail guy. Um, I thought a lot of the monster vocalizations in this film were very off, noticeably. They were clearly using like gorilla sounds for a lot of like the apes, and those sounded great. But then they were adding in these roars, like when they would roar, and they sounded. I mean, in the world of like Foley, you're probably combining like a lot of different animal sounds to make a roar, right? But it sounded like it was a lot of like lion and like feline roars, maybe some walrus. Like it's common to mix and match, right? But
right.
for some reason, I was like, oh, that sounds like a gorilla. Oh, now that sounds like a lion. Why are they using that? It doesn't sound like I don't know that. It just kept taking me out of the film every time, like an ape did like a challenge roar kind of a thing. I don't know. I
Yeah,
might be
it's
the
like they
only
struggled
person
to.
who had an issue with that, but it's just like that was on my
Yeah,
list. So
I definitely didn't
um,
notice it, but it's almost like they struggled to come up with like a something different from Kong, or just were like, we need to make it sound really different from Kong, and then just like,
mm,
here's 12 sounds.
yeah, I don't know. There were some other things in this film that I'm about to get to that felt like someone was out of time, like some sort of like. So I wonder what happened in the production of this film. Like there's some last minute stuff that happened that could relate to the sound stuff. I wrote down facial animation is off. I don't remember what I was referring to. For sure, the baby ape Suko that neither of us liked looked all wrong. Just didn't look good. The animation was bad. The movement was bad. The face,
Yeah,
like scaling, was bad. Looked a lot like Dobby. I
Yeah, that's
literally
what that
watched the movie
is. I
again.
hadn't really,
Dude,
yeah,
literally, this ape looks like an ape version of Dobby. And it just, like, I did not buy that character the entire film.
yeah,
Not the role, not the writing, not his purpose in the film, not the way he looked, not any of the vocalizations, not his animation movement or facial
yeah.
animation.
It's just
Like, the scaling was off. Like, it didn't. Like, if you literally just look at any reference footage of a baby gorilla, it does not look like that. I don't like. How do you
read
fail at such a
another book.
basic, and like it's just funny because obviously like in a movie of this scale, like the VFX is very heavily distributed, right? It's not like one team doing the whole thing. Like there's
Yeah, well,
probably like
and
hundreds and hundreds of the VFX shots, and it's going to be distributed to a bunch of people. So who knows who's working on what? But I mean, contrasting with like King Kong, I guess we'll just call him Kong, right? Because they're not calling him King Kong. Kong looked consistently great in this film, and I know that Weta FX worked on this film. I'm guessing they were focusing on Kong and using like the same stuff that they used in the last film. He looks great. His eyes look human. He's really portrayed as like a humanistic character in this film, and like they crushed it. I'm guessing there were other VFX houses. Maybe there were some last minute deadlines on some of the other like character work.
I almost wonder if it was like that character was put in super late.
Into the script, or
Yeah.
could be, could be. Not sure. Obviously, like in a movie called Godzilla X Kong, like you're gonna put most of your work into Godzilla and Kong, but I don't know.
Yeah, but come on. Yeah, but
I
come on.
mean, it felt lazy.
Who said that looked okay? Yeah.
Did not look great. I wrote down convenient prophecy concerning the girl. They just kind of shoehorned in like this all of a sudden. Like now there's this prophecy that there's gonna be a girl from an Iwi tribe who's gonna show up at the perfect moment. I was like, come on.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
They
for
were
sure,
trying to
yes.
justify her being there and her
But that
having a
kind of
purpose for
shoehorn
being
is
there.
nothing like that is a very well worn shoehorn in the Godzilla universe, my friend.
I'm sure it is. I don't like it. You got to understand, like, like, I'm like, I can't not review this as a film. Also, I think objectively, just because something's been done before doesn't mean that in a modern era you can't like make something
Right.
more grounded. Like
Right.
you have a whole history to build on, maybe even improve on, depending on how you're looking at things. I don't think that's a great excuse if like that's what the writers are saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, man, my head just totally went off screen. Sorry, editor. That's you. um, yeah, I wrote down Journey to the Center of the Earth, question mark, Planet of the Apes, question mark. Very, very obvious influences on what was going on here. I guess I just wasn't expecting a whole, like, not most of the movie, but at least a third to a half of the movie to be like this group of humans just sort of like traipsing through jungle exploration kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, where's Godzilla? Where's Kong? Where's the conflict? Where's the what? I'm like used to like the whole cityscape sort of side. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
something new. Like, okay, let's go with it. But still, I'm like, you're trying to be these other things.
It just kind of felt very handholdy a little bit. Like there was
The whole
no.
plot was handholdy, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down this would be a cinema sin. Have you ever watched Cinema Sins?
No.
Oh, maybe our listeners are familiar. It's called Cinema Sins. It used to be really great. It's not great now because like the guy who made it isn't involved in it anymore. So it's sort of like a different team doing it. But basically they're like tear apart a movie and they like have a sin counter in the corner. And they
Oh
just
yeah,
start
yeah.
like
Okay.
they just
Yeah,
start
yeah,
like
yeah.
listing out.
Yeah, yeah.
This would be
Yep, yep.
a cinema sin quote, not quote, but I wrote down the Kong arm. I forget what the project was called. The Kong arm is stored in the armory. Bro,
I didn't even notice.
I didn't even. I almost said out loud. I was like, God damn it! Of course, it's in the armory. Ha ha. That's a cinema sin. Ding. So, anyways, this I think is a very legitimate criticism. Oh, you're looking up something. What are you looking up?
Just trying to see if I can find out what the name of it.
Oh, that project thing. The
Yeah.
name of like the cybernetic arm
Yeah.
thing they made for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Anyways.
forgot it as I was sitting in the theater and didn't write it down. That's how quickly I forgot the name of it. And they never mentioned the name of it again, so it's not important.
Doesn't matter.
Um,
He's either going to love it
um,
or he's going to rip it off with his teeth.
they did say here's I think a legitimate criticism of Godzilla in this movie, not his role. Um, I'm guessing people disagreeing with the statement are going to say it's because he's amped up on Tiamat juice, but he moves very, very quickly and nimbly in this film. He's like, he just moves quickly. He
Like way
runs
faster than any movie.
really
Yeah.
fast. He's upright more. He like I mean we already mentioned him like diving into the ocean, but his whole movement, speed, and agility is just like nimble and quick in this film. And okay, maybe he's got some extra radiation in him, but you're forgetting from an animation standpoint. This is definitely probably like a direction thing where the VFX people just have to kind of do what they're told. But like it completely kills any sense of size or weight. Like he doesn't
Absolutely.
feel big. Literally, whole movie. Like we know he's big, but he doesn't look big, and he doesn't feel big. You don't feel any of the gravity because he's just like hopping around like a gecko. Like that's not what he is.
Yeah.
Like why would you do that? Like that doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. It's Godzilla for
Yeah.
crying
He
out loud.
still weighs how many tons? He's still like,
Yeah,
yeah, there's so
and I mean,
much
and
physiology there that
Kong.
was,
I think Kong moved pretty consistently with the way he's supposed to be and the size he is throughout the film. But
yeah.
Godzilla, the whole time,
It's like they
like
tried to
relative,
match
they're the same
Godzilla to
size,
Kong.
but Godzilla was moving so fast
Yeah. Yeah. And
that
he's never that the point is that he's not as agile as Kong, and that was always a like what
right,
a
it
point
feels
in the battle
inconsistent to
against
me.
them. Yeah.
Like like if he has more radiation, he should have a stronger atomic breath or something, atomic blast,
Right.
whatever it's called.
Pulse.
Um,
I liked the way the atomic pulse sounded in this movie. I
oh,
appreciated that
I didn't
like
notice.
as yeah, every time he powered up it got more intense and
Okay,
crazier sounding.
that's cool. I do think like some of those things are overused now. Like I love the way that was presented in 2014 Godzilla, where it's literally like the last ditch effort. You don't even see him directly. There's like all the smoke and the fog. It's kind of like this is the moment you've been waiting for. Now it's just kind of like any old mosquito will go by and he'll use his atomic breath. Like, come on, man! Like, save it
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
special moment. Like, it's not a criticism of Godzilla. It's a criticism of the writer of the movie who was making Godzilla be that way. Like,
Right.
be
Yep.
better. I don't know. So I wrote down Bad Ape. I forget the name.
Scar King.
Scar King, whatever his name is. Um, he is smaller than Kong. I think objectively, he for sure looks smaller than Kong. We already talked about how he didn't look very imposing and stuff down in Hollow Earth. Um, but yeah, he looks smaller down there, right? He looks like he's for sure relying on his bone whip and the fact that he has a Titan and other things. The second he gets up top, he looks the size of a building. Completely took me out of the film. Completely jumped the shark. Like
Huh.
they made him bigger when he came up to the surface, objectively. Like they made him look bigger.
So
It,
basically they just did a poor job of showing the scale in Hollow Earth.
yeah, well, I think they just they did that fight. I mean, this is like, I think someone on Letterboxd said something like the VFX team should get credit for directing this movie. Like that was
Yeah,
someone's
yeah, yeah.
review. It's totally, totally accurate, dude. Like I'm when the whole scene is CG, like you're doing it all on a computer after the fact, right? Like there weren't
Hmm.
any humans in the scene with all the apes, right? There weren't any like humans at scale during the Titan fight at the end. So this is like all out of a computer. So maybe you have different teams doing it, but at some point, like you have this whole fight down in there, and he's small, and then you have a different fight, and all of a sudden, they're like, "Well, he needs to be bigger for this fight, so that it's
Yeah.
believable." Like, right? That's that's something you should have done earlier for the earlier thing. You should have made him better, and not just like, you know, scaled him up. Like, it wasn't like massively bigger, but it was enough where it was like, hold on, like he didn't look that big down
Right.
there. Is it just because he's
Yeah.
next to a human building now? Well, no, he seems bigger compared to Kong. I don't know. That was inconsistent. Oh my god, this whole final fight, man, I hated it. I just did not like
Really?
it. It literally, this part of the movie was trying to be Man of Steel. That's literally what it was. The goal wasn't even about the
Is that the?
fighting or their
Oh no, it's
abilities.
not. Okay.
The goal of the fight seemed to be how many CG structures can we destroy? Is there a pyramid? Well, that's not going to be left standing. Is there an entire city? Well, we need to make sure we raise every bit of it to the ground. Literally, like that was the whole purpose, was just like them destroying things as a byproduct of their fight rather than the fight itself. Now there were some cool moments, sure. I didn't quite buy the body slam. Was it like, I think Kong like flipped Godzilla over his back, or I forget what happened. Am I thinking of something else?
Uh, is that in Egypt when he's trying to get
Might have been
Godzilla to
Egypt.
come? Yeah.
That was like kind of ridiculous to
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Godzilla does the body slam to Kong in Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the whole over.
that to
Yeah, they
me
go
feels
over
like something
backwards.
that that like sounds really cool on paper, but also
Like,
Godzilla
let's put this
like,
WWE move in here.
I know, but
Like
like Godzilla doesn't move that way.
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
he's
it sounds
all
good
leg
on
and
paper.
tail and breath. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it would have
Yeah.
made more
He
sense
doesn't have the upper
for Kong to
arm.
do
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
I That feels like something they're like, no, this is on the page. We have to do it. And we're like, oh boy, how do we make this convincing? Well, you don't. It wasn't convincing. It was cool, but it wasn't really convincing. Yeah. So just the whole fight at the end was just like literally destroy everything. There were several VFX shots that looked very unfinished, like low poly, the detail missing. Like literally, they ran out of time to render the finished version, kind of a thing. One was, I want to say, a shot of a ship in a harbor and Godzilla swimming.
Huh.
That wasn't necessarily the end of the film, um, but I must have noticed something near the end of the film that reminded me, oh, this is not the first very unfinished VFX shot. So, and that's like usually like a deadline thing. It's not like the VFX team is bad or something. It's usually always a deadline thing. Like maybe it was a
Right.
last minute thing they were thrown, or I don't know. But it's honestly something that I would have expected, and you did see a lot of movies that were made during COVID because like stuff was crazy. This came out in 2024. Like,
Yeah.
why wasn't there time? You
Shouldn't be
know,
happening anymore. Yeah.
that's usually like a bad sign about things that are going on behind the scenes. Like when something's so last minute that there isn't even time to finish it. Like that's not good writing. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I referenced the humor again here because I referenced that I like there was some humor earlier. However, I feel that the humor is very brief and I think awkwardly placed. Like not necessarily cringy, but like it felt like they were trying to shoehorn it in to like, we turn up the funny slider. No, more, up to 11. Like, yes, please write some more jokes and find a place to put that in. Like that's kind of how it felt. Like it was almost an after the fact rather than it was like a part of the script from the beginning.
Yeah, like a
That's a
punch up
theory.
instead of a yeah.
Yeah, a very performative. I yeah. Like there were some funny moments, but was it consistent? No, it was not consistent. Nothing about this movie was consistent to me.
It's
Um,
true.
the plot jumps the shark a lot. You referenced the whole like floating around gravity thing. It just like the movie started really grounded. It reminded me a little bit of like, have you seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or any of those movies?
Yeah.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes starts with like this whole long thing with like the apes in the jungle, and it's like a drama, and it's like beautiful, and it's like the story unfolds very slowly, and you get to see the human nature of the characters. They were for sure emulating that vibe with like sort of spending some time with Kong in this film. And there's a lot of that in the first third of the film, maybe even the first half. Like we're seeing it through his eyes. And then they just kind of brush that aside and are just like, all right, give me all your crazy ideas.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as too many. We're going to do all of them.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. Like, so it started
Yep.
like almost a little more grounded and like really good storytelling. And then it like literally just fell apart to
Yep.
me. Like it's
Yep.
trying to be too many things. Like you can't be all those things in one movie. Pick one. Like decide what you want to be. And then like my final criticism, which I first said about King of the Monsters, actually, the 2019 film, we have lost any human perspective shot of Titans in this movie. Not a single one. We don't see almost any Titan from below in this movie. We
Yeah, there
have
were very, very few.
zero. We're not even trying to show the scale of these things anymore. Like all you see is like it from the
Yeah,
side, the whole city.
why do we keep oscillating between that? It's so weird. It
Literally,
is
it
kind of
has
like
jumped
it's
between. Like it was
huh,
better in the last film. Same director. Like why? I don't know. Like they
different
just don't
cinematographer
feel
maybe.
big or menacing or like something I should care
Yeah,
about because there's
yeah,
no like human characters to care about that are near them or under them or looking up at them. Like why should I care? I mean,
right.
again, like you were saying, maybe this isn't supposed to be the grounded film, but it wasn't like consistently a comedy or lighthearted anyways. Like it was trying legitimately to be a drama in the beginning and some other things. Pick one, man. Like
Yeah.
so I'll be honest, I kinda oscillated between giving this like 3 stars or 3.5 out of 5. I started I started with 3. I read your review and your rating. I thought about it a little bit and I was like, all right, I think it would grow on me. I kind of bounced between 3 and 3.5 a little bit. I was like, yeah, what'd you give it? You give it how many stars?
4.
Okay.
4 out of
I think
5.
at the time it was 4.5.
Yeah, I've bumped it down since I saw it the second time.
Got
Took a
it.
half star away. Took a half star away.
So I probably saw the original one. I was like, maybe there's some things I'm like missing or some context or something that would make me appreciate it more. But still, looking at it objectively as a film, like really messy, just kind of crazy town. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really buy a whole lot of the things in Mothraville, whatever you want to call the. Um, it's just so fantastical and not grounded. Like I don't know. There's fantastically
Hey.
crazy stuff in some of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I don't know the way it's presented. You're just like, all right, this is a reality and a real place. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
But this is more just like a human
No,
wrote that, and they used laziness to write that. That's what I'm seeing right now. Like I'm not
yeah.
believing that this is a real place. I don't know.
Now we just need
Not to be a downer, but that's what I thought about this film.
now we just need Kevin Feige to do a
Uh,
Godzilla movie.
hmm, hmm.
Kevin Feige, or who's the other dude? Who's the dude that's happy in the Iron Man movies?
Oh, Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's get Favreau to do a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Is that so much to ask, Hollywood?
Title. We're gonna have someone to choose from for this one.
So many. Let's bust through some trivia real quick, and then let's get
Hmm.
out of here because it's a school night and
Yeah, it's been a bit.
got
Um,
got things to do.
for sure. I actually like put some trivia side this time in advance. So I have,
Sweet.
I don't know, 10 items here that I wrote down. Maybe you have some of the same ones, but some interesting stuff. I already mentioned one of them, which is that little Godzilla dude, not Godzilla, the little ape guy, is actually taller than Kong was in his own movie in 2017.
Yeah.
But he looks tiny compared to Kong. That's how the scaling
Yeah.
is.
Again, back to your scaling. Anyways.
Oh, the scaling was all over the film, anyways, but it was just kind of a fun little tidbit.
Mine comes from there was a whole bunch of drama around the toy releases for this movie.
I did see some
There
of that,
was
yeah.
like toys came out early and revealed like the name of like Scar King and Shimu.
It's funny,
But the
that's
one
been
that I have
happening
written
for like
down here,
60 years.
right?
Why does that still happen?
There was a whole, and I don't understand why we care. I do, but hey, nerds have nothing better to do apparently. There was a whole heated debate about whether Shimu was male or female,
Yeah.
because there was like mention in the film that it was a male, but then like the toy used female pronouns and like. Yeah, I don't know. Like they even asked like the creature designer, and he was like, "Well, I wanted it to be male, but then they like changed it in the movie, and I don't like. Why do we care? Why?
It's a nice lizard,
Why
all
do we?
right.
Why
Why
do we
does it
care
matter?
about the reproductive organs of a fake Titan, of a non-existent? Words are failing me. Go on with more trivia.
Okay.
Title.
Um, this is probably not surprising, but the Coliseum napping stuff was more or less based on the director's cat.
Boo.
Wow, that was so interesting. Aren't you glad I
Boo.
mentioned that?
Boo. My only other piece of trivia that I have is that this film came out exactly 10 years after the release of Gareth Edwards' Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
And it's the one that launched this whole franchise.
yeah.
And this is also I'm calling it the second film. Technically, it's the first. 2024 is the 70th anniversary of the Godzilla franchise.
Oh yeah.
And Toho said that Godzilla -1 was the kickoff at the end of, because that came out in late 2023. But yeah, so this is the second film in the anniversary run.
Well,
70 years.
that
70
is cool.
years of the big guy.
The big lizard man. Okay. This was interesting. I copied down this one because of my contrasting with Godzilla versus Kong versus this film, Godzilla X Kong, and like some of the stark differences. Like Godzilla versus Kong was like really cohesive, and like I thought the effects were really good and some of that stuff. Um, the director here, he was commenting on. I guess that film was probably his first foray into big budget effects driven filmmaking. So he's commenting on this. He said, "There's no way to plan for the complexity of a movie like this." Wrong. That's objectively wrong. I got to the end of Godzilla vs. Kong and felt like I was just getting the swing of it, not just in terms of the visual effects themselves, but the ins and outs of having the confidence to know what an eyeline for a monster should be from someone on the ground. You didn't do that, and everything in between. I really came into this film
Missed it.
knowing more about how to use the tools and with the desire to really push the visual effects and the animation. You made it worse. I don't know. I literally wrote that down because I was like, what I'm seeing does not match up with what you're saying. Like the last movie was better on all of those counts. Pretty much objectively, yeah.
Objectively, but yeah, just on so many fronts.
It's almost like
I agree.
he just was like, we're just gonna do all the things because everything is possible. Like, no, limits are good, man. Like, pick a lane. Anyways, done with that one. Tiamat, 847 feet long. Second longest body length of any MonsterVerse Titan, surpassed by Na Kika.
Dora?
I don't know which one that is, and I was hoping you would be able to remember.
Say it again. Who?
Na Kika, Nakika. I'm guessing it was one in King of the Monsters, maybe one of the smaller ones, but maybe that one was invented for the MonsterVerse. Na Kika. So Tiamat, for reference, is sort of like a snake-like one, with sort of like wings-ish, kind of like Cobra-ish looking kind of a dude.
Hasn't been, so it was in Godzilla King of the Monsters, the novelization of the movie,
Oh, maybe
and
not
then
in the
also
movie.
Godzilla versus Kong, the novelization, but not in the
All right,
movies
so maybe
themselves.
that's not as interesting. There's actually
Also known as the Kraken.
okay. I do have several items here in the trivia that I wrote down specifically because I was hoping you would refresh my memory. Uh, there is a moment of French soldiers standing in a Godzilla footprint. I'm guessing it was by the radiation lab.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here that this is intended to be an homage to the TriStar Godzilla 1998 film,
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
which had a lot of like
Yeah, they
French
do
stuff
like
going on.
the helicopter shot over the ground, and you can see his footprints, and he's like destroying a French
Mm-hmm.
nuclear reactor, and yeah, the troops run up and they have the Geiger counter, and it's like clicking or whatever, and they yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a little bit of a nod there.
Nice.
The director revealed in no uncertain terms, I don't know who writes these things, that he wanted viewers to have a giddy blast this time out. He shared, it's almost like this one's almost a spoof of the last one.
Huh.
Uh, it's dead
Why?
serious the last time when you're flying in there, and it was fun to be like, what's it like when Bernie goes through it? So we played it from his perspective. I'm not really sure what he's saying there. Obviously, Bernie got to be in the film a lot more and kind of be comedic, to kind of get pulled into the adventure. But I mean, he was doing that in the last film as well. I kind of lashed onto him saying like maybe this one is a spoof of the last one. Like that is that really your intention? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. Shimu Shimo, the ice princess, the the ice Godzilla Titan at the end of the film. His name is Shimu. Um, I mentioned this earlier, but we don't know her age, but she's been referred to in some sources as the first Titan, which would indicate her to be older than any other Titan. Don't know how we confirm that. Um,
It's almost like this is all made up.
um, so when the last film came out, Godzilla versus Kong, again, um, someone tweeted about the movie saying that it was amazeballs and asked whether where the light source on Hollow Earth was coming from, but it wasn't answered in that film. And the director saying he responded to that and said the first shot of this movie is going to answer the question of where that light source is coming from in Hollow Earth. And for the life of me, I can't remember what the first shot of the film is. Do you remember? I can't even. Was there something in that shot that was showing how the
Yeah,
light was getting down there?
I
Like a
don't
sinkhole or something? Were we flying
I
through a
don't know.
sinkhole? Like, I was hoping you'd remember because I know you saw it twice, but
Yeah, no, I don't. Nope, no idea.
hmm. And finally, Kaylee Hottle. She played the Iwi girl. She's much older now, of course. She said she was really satisfied at seeing just the deaf representation in this film, being kind of like a primary character. She was saying that just the like feedback that she got that it was really cool to see that representation in this film. So
Hmm.
they did she did have an important role in the film. Some of it felt a little shoehorned. Um, but I will say this is on a side note, but I have some friends who speak sign language. They just like learned it. Um, one girl I know, she my friends are kind of like mutual friends with her. She is a like a sign language interpreter, is kind of like going into that. So she's in that world, and so and then like these other friends of mine, they have just kind of like learned how to do it, and it kind of like came to a head one time. We were at a jazz club hanging out, and if you've ever been to like a jazz club, you'll know that when the band is performing, it's like not talking time. You're there to listen to the music and appreciate it. Because of that, they were able to talk the whole time. They were just like commenting on stuff. And I'm like, man, this is such a cool life hack. And so I hung out with them a couple times. I've watched some movies that deal with sort of the deaf community and kind of what that's like. One's called Coda, very cool film, won an Oscar, I believe. Another one is called The Sound of Metal, which is about a drummer who loses his hearing, kind of that journey he goes on towards acceptance or not acceptance. You have to watch it to find out. That one also won an award, maybe an Oscar, for the sound design. Very cool film. So anyways, I think it's cool to like see more deaf representation on screen and sort of make like the whole like sign language thing a little more mainstream. I think more people should learn it. I should learn it, honestly.
Neat.
And I guess
agree.
that's where my thoughts are ending. Talking about the deaf community. Didn't think we were going to end there, did you?
I did not.
It's one of those threads in my brain.
Yep. I've got another piece of trivia here that I forgot. I read a minute ago, like a couple weeks ago, and forgot. Shimu, this is not her first appearance in general. There is a drawing of Shimu fighting Godzilla in a cave in Call of Duty, Warzone, and Vanguard.
Prior to the production of this film? Or as a marketing tie-in?
2022.
As a marketing tie-in. Okay.
I don't know. I didn't play Call of Duty. I'm just seeing it here on the internet. And as you all know, you cannot lie on the internet.
Yeah. Doesn't Warner Brothers own Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be it. Because Warner Brothers, I think, has the rights to Kong, and that is why they are involved in movies involving Kong. So that would be probably marketing on there.
They own Legendary as well. So
okay, cool.
Yes.
Well,
all right.
when you own Call of Duty, there's an opportunity to market something in the game.
Hey, you can't let Fortnite have all the fun with all their crossovers and skins.
No.
Lawless individuals, stickers everywhere.
These kids and their skins.
That's a reference. But whatever. It's a Tony Hawk's Underground reference. Did you ever play that game? Gosh, this is so boring. I hope you're still here listening. Thank you for your $5 a month.
I hope you're watching on video and just see me smiling silently as our train of thought just slowly derails.
Yeah, it's 10:52 local time here. It's a school night. Daddy's tired. I want to go
Daddy's
to bed.
tired. Title. On that note, I think we should call it.
Yeah. We'll see you on the next one. Patreon.com/The One About Godzilla Movies. Give us a rating. Leave us comments. Tell us what you like the show. Tell us things that you wish we talked about these movies that we don't, so that we cannot do that. Whatever. Just
tell us that you love us.